The last 4 Dragon Ball Super movies have each had their own flavor.
Well, technically Qaaman, Battle of Gods, and Resurrection F were Dragon Ball Z movies, and only Dragon Ball Super Broly and Dragon Ball Super Hero were Dragon Ball Super movies, because these movies came out after Super aired. Get with the program, you dweeb.
Apologies for being brutally interrupted by the angry commenter for being ever so technical. Battle of Gods and Resurrection F were technically Dragon Ball Z movies, but you may as well count them as Dragon Ball Super films since Super redid them into arcs with worse animation, a more stretched out plot, and significantly more boring fights. But the movies themselves were fairly solid, and each movie had its own feel to it. Battle of Gods. Slice of life gets an unexpected visit from a god and an angel. Lighter theme. Resurrection F. Frieza comes back and kills everyone, only for Whis to reverse time and Goku to steal Vegeta's win. Darker theme. Dragon Ball Super Broly. Bardock, the father of Goku, Broly the legendary Super Saiyan, and Dragon Ball Minus recreated in one movie. Darker theme. Dragon Ball Super Hero. Slice of life gets interrupted by less competent remnants of the Red Ribbon Army with Goku and Vegeta away. Lighter theme. And after Dragon Ball Super Hero, if we continue down this pattern, that means that eventually it's gonna be time to spice things up and have another dark Dragon Ball storyline. And who is better to lead a dark storyline than future Trunks? The opinion you are about to hear is going to be declared as a fact, because everybody watching this video knows in their heart of hearts that this is true. Dragon Ball is at its best when things are dark. But some of you are probably wondering, why would we need a darker plot anyways? Well, it's just that. Trunks' storylines are always excellent when it comes to creating tension. When Goku, Vegeta, and Trunks went to the future timeline, we knew that if the time machine broke or if they died in that timeline, it's over. And of course, in the back of our minds, we all know that these characters are forced to survive because everything has to add up with Goku meeting Oob in the end. But the tension is still there of how these characters will get out of this horrendous situation in that exact moment. But what's even better is that if this proposed future Trunks movie were to come out after Goku meets Oob and overwrites the alternate timeline period that would have been Dragon Ball GT, then at that point we have no end product to our blueprint and we can enjoy the movie not knowing the outcome, even if we know our heroes are always supposed to win, because they always do. But unfortunately we can't really say that for Trunks' timeline because his timeline always loses. But that's besides the point. Tension is something that Dragon Ball really needs more of, and the Trunks arc was by far the best at ever creating that throughout Dragon Ball history. Our next reason for needing a future Trunks movie is due to plot flexibility. As usual, when Trunks returned to his future, he returned to a unique situation where he was living with a duplicate version of himself, and also a duplicate version of Mai. And guys, let's try to be pretty mature here. Don't try to get those nasty thoughts that everybody's thinking after I just said that, because it probably already exists on the internet. Either way, a quick flashback to explain exactly where he is now and what happened with Beerus and Zamasu would bring everything full circle to the Dragon Ball audience. It'd also be fun to see the adjustment of living with a duplicate version of yourself and how that affects training and more. But the flexible thing about Trunks is that he can be used as a self-contained story, or can be written to become part of our main cast. One Trunks can be written to have more of a time patroller Trunks type role, while the other decides to live in the present timeline with our characters for future Dragon Ball Super arcs. Or, like Trunks and Mai wanted, they could both just continue to live in the future. You can do whatever you want. And once you break that time period of Oob and what would have been Dragon Ball GT and the years of peace before Dragon Ball GT, the ball is in your court to do whatever the hell you want with the plot. That segues us perfectly into our next reason, which relates directly to Dragon Ball Super Hero. You see, Dragon Ball Super Hero did 3 things that really planted seeds for future arcs. One thing it did is that it made Gohan and Piccolo significantly stronger. So if there is a large plot where multiple powerful villains are involved, Piccolo and Gohan can do a lot more than just be sideline cannon fodder or fighting minor henchmen that no one gives 2 shits about. And when you couple this with the androids meaning Android 17 and 18 of course, we can see future Trunks being able to fight alongside alternate versions of those who terrorized his future, which is a unique thematic element that was never present in Dragon Ball Super. Yes, we did have a moment where future Trunks saw Android 18 and the fact that she got married to Krillin and stuff, and he never got a chance to interact with Android 17. And while we saw 17 and 18 fighting in the Tournament of Power, seeing them interact with Trunks now as good guys would be visual candy for an audience that had to endure the pain of watching Trunks' timeline. And apart from this, the Dragon Team, or Z Warriors, or Earth's Heroes, or however the hell you want to call them, would have its strongest team ever if future Trunks were to return, and Broly is also a good guy fighting alongside the androids. This also includes Kid Trunks and Goten, who are now finally grown up. And considering the fact that Trunks would look even more similar to the future version of himself, would be an interesting sight to see, as well as we can see an adult Gotenks in a much more serious fighting role than what we saw in Dragon Ball Super Hero. And even though Goten and Trunks were absent from the Tournament of Power, they were shown in the manga fighting off Cell Jr.'s on Android 17 Island that he was protecting from poaching, so it would be interesting to see how much stronger or weaker the mature adult Gotenks would have made a difference in Dragon Ball Super itself. But now we'll move on directly to Vomi, or the original human to which Android 21 was based on. Now, there are a variety of ways that she can be forced to exist in Dragon Ball Super, even though she does, as of Dragon Ball Super Hero. She could be brought back as a hero, or a villain, and could be used as a gateway to a more important character. And now that Dr. Hito exists and is an ally to our heroes, spoiler alert for those of you who have already been spoiled by the movie anyways, he could be involved in a plot where he's directly involved resurrecting his grandmother, or recreating her, or finding some way to bring her into Dragon Ball Super. And all of this leads to a bigger question. What massive plot could possibly be conceived where all of these characters could be a cohesive unit fighting together? Well, like it or not, Dragon Ball Online, Dragon Ball Xenoverse, and Dragon Ball Heroes all play around with an idea never expressed before in Dragon Ball Super directly. And we, of course, are talking about the demon realm of the Dragon Ball universe, where Deborah was originally from before he had a change of heart and became a heart-loving soul. But prior to that, he was basically the devil. And when we couple this with a character like Demigra, who is basically an unofficial makaioshins, or a demonic Supreme Kai who runs the underworld, there are a lot of characters that you can mix and match into a very big plotline. You see, in Dragon Ball Super, we've learned about a variety of different gods. We learned more about the Supreme Kais, we learned about the gods of destruction, the angels, Zeno's bodyguards, and Zeno himself. But we haven't seen the opposite side, the demonic side. And with the existence of time rings and more, there are so many ways to have a plot that can involve future Trunks, even if he doesn't take on a Time Patroller Trunks role. But the best thing is, with demons like Mira and Toa and Fu, and much more, we could have a massive demonic type war plot that involves a large cast of characters, even larger than the Tournament of Power itself, which took on a massive task of featuring so many characters, and did it. But then you will have people saying, well, the Tournament of Power was stretched out over dozens of episodes, so of course you could write an arc that big when you have that much time to write it into the storyline. Well, that, guys, leads us to our ultimate point. The biggest reason why all of this could work in a movie format is time. You see, time is on our side because there hasn't been an official date set for Super's return as of the recording of this video. Meaning a lot of time, money, and development can go into a project as large as this. But the most important thing about time is that over the last few Dragon Ball movies, the runtime has been significantly longer than many of the original Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z movies that ran no longer than an hour, and that was pushing it. The average one ran about 45 to 50 minutes. And the truth is, who wouldn't like this? Because Trunks is a fan favorite character and one of the most popular Dragon Ball characters out there, even though he's barely around. especially amongst female Dragon Ball fans that have a ridiculous obsession with Future Trunks. So you can definitely imagine Dragon Ball mending the rules and having an even longer runtime just to incorporate Future Trunks. We're talking about a 2+ hour movie that's Dragon Ball. I mean, it's not that impossible to imagine when you consider the last few movies aren't that far from 2 hours anyways. And that, my friends, is why Future Trunks needs his own movie. But hold on, if you want more Future Trunks related topics, check out What If Trunks and Mai Stayed in the Present Timeline or Future Trunks' Secret Mission to Kill Dr. Gero. There's also the Future Trunks amusement theory that explains how he survived fighting against the androids for so long despite being much weaker. And until next time, stay cool and stay safe, my friends.